Hello everyone, welcome back to Maple Street. Today I'm talking about 8 great black and white Christmas movies. However, I'm forcing myself to not talk about Wonderful Life in it. It's going to be a little hard seeing as how It's a Wonderful Life is the best movie ever. I'm literally wearing a shirt. In the background, I have a mug behind me. I literally have a Wonderful Life shelf right here. But the reason I'm choosing to exclude it from today's video is because everyone knows about It's a Wonderful Life. I want to focus on some other great black and white Christmas movies. So as usual with my 8 great playlist, I go in order of release date. This is not a ranking. And I always have to throw this out there. This doesn't mean that there are only 8 great black and white Christmas movies. For crying out loud, I just mentioned how I'm excluding the best one of them all. This is a mixture of some movies you've probably heard of, some movies you've probably seen, and maybe some other ones that you haven't heard of or seen. And so as usual, I will be going in order of release date. The first movie I'm talking about today came out in 1940. It's called Remember the Night. It stars Barbara Stanwyck and Fred MacMurray. The story is pretty ridiculous. When Jack, an assistant district attorney, takes Lee, a shoplifter caught in the act, home with him for Christmas, the unexpected happens and love blossoms. You're not expecting the plot that you get when the movie starts and you see Fred MacMurray working on the side of the prosecution, accusing Barbara Stanwyck's Lee character for shoplifting. You don't expect them to fall in love as the movie progresses, but it happens and it's really good. The movie definitely takes place at home for the holidays for Fred MacMurray's character, but the trip along the way of getting home is very entertaining. One thing that really stood out to me was the Christmas morning itself in this movie. Fred MacMurray's character, he's opening gifts. I think he opens 2 gifts on Christmas morning, one of which is a sweater from his mother. And the way he opens it and accepts the gift and thanks his mother, and seeing the number of gifts he got was so special to me and humbling at the same time. Barbara Stanwyck normally plays villainous characters. I don't know what it is about her filmography, at least the movies that I've seen. In this movie, she is also villainous, you could say, but I really enjoyed her character. I loved her performance as well. And she is the queen of Christmas movies. Like, I've seen her in 3 black and white Christmas movies. In fact, let's talk about my next movie, Meet John Doe. I might not have included It's a Wonderful Life, but I still snuck in a Frank Capra directed movie. Yeah, you could argue that Meet John Doe isn't a Christmas movie. In fact, I could even see it being more of a 4th of July movie with how patriotic it is. It feels very similar to Mr. Smith Goes to Washington in that your average John Doe is going up against a large political party and the people of America are rooting for this average John Doe. Very Mr. Smith in that regard. The reason I include it on this list is because the final 12 minutes take place on Christmas Eve. This is very crucial to the plot. In a nutshell, the movie stars Barbara Stanwyck. She plays a recently laid off journalist, and in order to keep her job, she creates this story where she received this letter from a man named John Doe. But in the letter, he talks about how on Christmas Eve, he is going to jump from the tallest building in the city and commit suicide. This letter is published in the newspaper and everyone goes crazy over it. They want to hire John Doe. They want to give him money. They want to help him in any way they can. They don't know, though, that John Doe doesn't actually exist. And so they are trying to find someone that fits the mold of John Doe, and that's where Gary Cooper comes into the movie. And so you can see how Christmas Eve, the final 12 minutes, plays a pretty big role in the film. I'm also throwing this in there because you get a beautiful rendition of Silent Night from a boys' choir. You see snow falling, you see the Christmas tree. Obviously, Christmas Eve is a pivotal part of the plot. But on top of all of that, the message behind John Doe is very special. And because Christmas is a Christian holiday, I'll throw out there that Meet John Doe has very Christianic themes in comparing your average John Doe to the original average John Doe, who was Jesus Christ. I don't want to get all religious on you guys. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying it's a great movie, in my opinion, to watch around this time of the year because of the messages, and it also has Christmas Eve in it. Next up is 1942's The Man Who Came to Dinner. This was directed by William Kay. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I am sorry. This movie is about a critic who wreaks havoc when a hip injury forces him to move in indefinitely with a Midwestern family. It's a screwball comedy, which I'm not a huge fan of that subgenre. It just doesn't usually work well for me. This is one of the rare cases where it does work really well. There is so much happening, especially the last half of the movie. When the movie first started, I was very annoyed of Monty Woolley's character, the critic. I just thought he was way too overbearing, way too dislikable. As the movie progresses, while yes, he is very dislikable still, you learn to tolerate him, and I can't deny that even when I didn't like him too much, his one-liners and fast quips are very funny. There's a Christmas tree, there are gifts exchanged. I mean, kind of there are gifts exchanged. It's a really quick scene, but it takes place at Christmas time, and so that's good enough for me. And the movie overall is about caring for your loved ones and looking out for the people that are closest to you. I saw it for the first time earlier this month, and I hope it becomes a new regular for me. If Christmas in Connecticut was on the list, it would be in this spot, and I would have 3 Barbara Stanwyck movies, but I decided to exclude it because it's another movie that I think is more popular, and again, I wanted to focus on more of the underrated movies. I'm about to contradict myself though, because I'm not including Christmas in Connecticut, but I am going to include 1947's Miracle on 34th Street, probably behind It's a Wonderful Life, the most popular black and white Christmas movie. So because it's so popular, I'm not going to spend too much time on it today. Hopefully you know the plot of Miracle on 34th Street. It stands out to me though because the story is just so sweet, so wholesome. Edmund Gwenn won the Oscar for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for this movie, and I love his performance as Santa Claus. I think he does a great job here. I also love the story of believing in Santa Claus. I love how the movie begins with, you know, having this stand-in Santa Claus employee, and before you know it, you're watching a court case regarding whether or not Santa Claus is real. I just love this movie. I love the Christmas spirit and the Christmas magic that it delivers when I watch it. It's one of my all-time favorites. The Bishop's Wife stars Cary Grant as an angel. Do I have to say any more? Basically, it's about this bishop who is so set on building this new cathedral, and with being so set on this one task, he's blinded by the important things in life, like spending time with his family, with his wife specifically. So Cary Grant as an angel comes down and just makes it an all-around better place. Like, his job as an angel is to improve the places that he visits. It's a very feel-good movie. Cary Grant as the angel does a great job. There's a really fun scene where he decorates a Christmas tree with his angelic powers, but the standout for me is the ice skating scene. Although it's very clear that there are stand-ins for the actors, it's still a very magical scene and I love it. There's just something about Cary Grant spinning and whipping around and holding out his hand that is so great to me. Next up, we are shooting forward to 1952 and talking about O. Henry's Full House. So this is an anthology film with an all-star classic Hollywood cast. There are several stories that take place at winter time, and so that's always fun. But there's one story specifically that takes place at Christmas time. The Gift of the Magi is a story that is used in Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. It's the story of Mickey and Minnie. They're both on hard times. They both give away an item to get the other person another item, but the item that they get rid of affects the item that they received. It's that same story. Like, as I was watching, I was like, hey, I've seen this before. Sorry for that spoiler. So that's a great Christmas tale to watch, but you also see Charles Laughton in a short that is very dependent on the snowy weather. And then there's a great short called The Last Leaf, which also kind of plays a role in being winter time. And so all around, I would say this is a great watch for December. And the whole movie's on YouTube. Next up, I have 1952's The Holly and the Ivy. This is a great British drama. It's a movie that I would say falls in the subgenre that I've nicknamed Family Matters, where you have a family coming together and the movie is just them working out their problems. So the movies that I've seen that belong in the subgenre include Long Day's Journey into Night, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and now The Holly and the Ivy. The story follows everyone coming home for Christmas and working out some issues, revealing secrets that other family members weren't aware of, and just the conversation that happens around these secrets being revealed. Each character seems to have some sort of conflict that they are trying to resolve, and that's what you're watching as the movie progresses. It's a very short movie, very easy to watch, very accessible. The only reason I could see someone not liking it maybe is because it is very dialogue heavy. You know, you're just watching talking happening, and really the only way it falls into the Christmas category is it takes place at Christmas time. Like, that's why they're coming together. There's snow, Christmas tree, all that fun stuff, but not so much a Christmas themed movie, I would say. It's still really great though, and I would recommend you watch it in December. And finally, I have a movie that I talked about earlier this year for my 25 movies challenge where I spun movies on a wheel. It is 1964's Carol for Another Christmas. The movie is written by Rod Serling, and it's basically A Christmas Carol meets The Twilight Zone. I believe this is also all on YouTube. I think that's where I watched it, praying someday for a physical release. But you're all familiar with the Christmas Carol story. It takes that classic story and throws a modern spin on it, at least modern for 1964. And it still incorporates those sci-fi elements you're used to from the Twilight Zone while having a very powerful message hidden within. And I say hidden within, but there are also powerful messages that are very much so on the surface that are very easy to understand. I think it's a really well-made movie, one of my favorite adaptations of the Christmas Carol story. maybe my favorite. That's gonna do it for today's video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite black and white Christmas movies? Extra points if you share an obscure one. When I say obscure, I'm not talking about Shop Around the Corner, Wonderful Life, Christmas in Connecticut. Tell me one that's not very well known among this subgenre of film. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all. I hope it's a great time, and I'll see you in the next video.